Everyone, my name is Brianna Rawlinson, and I'm here with the multi-platinum producer Amadeus. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm good. And yourself?
I'm well. How's DC treating you since you've been here?
Good. I arrived today. It's raining,
Okay.
so I left rainy weather from New York as well.
Mm-hmm.
So not bad. I'm starting to meet some great people, and I'm excited about today.
You are Trey Songz's drummer. How did that come about?
Funny story. We were working in a studio because I'm a producer as well. So I was actually producing a song for him and Mike Jones at the time years ago. And there was a drum set in the studio, and I kind of mentioned to him, I think he had his first album out, and I was like, yo, eventually you're going to need a live band with the type of music that you're creating.
Right.
And he was like, word, you know what I mean? And I, just kind of mentioned that I play drums. Of course, he didn't believe me. Mike Jones didn't believe me, and they kind of joked on me for a little bit. But I was like, listen, this is, me as a producer, like I had to start somewhere, and I started playing drums. So we laughed, and I kind of threw it out there, like, one day you're going to need a band. When you need a band, holler at me. And I just kind of put it out there, no experience, in music directing at all.
Okay.
And a year later, I got the phone call, like, are you ready to put the band together for Trey Songz? I'm like, nah. Because like I said, I never had any experience in it. But he, trusted in me and believed in me as a musician. Gave me the chance, and here we are 8 years later.
8 years.
Traveled to almost the entire world.
Okay.
Hot 97 Summer Jam, Essence Fest, BET Awards, 106 in Park, Jimmy Kimmel Show. Like we've,
Been everywhere.
different tours. Toured with Chris Brown, toured with Nicki Minaj, toured with Jay-Z, Usher. So it's been a great run.
You're a producer as well, so I know you work with Chris Brown, Tiger, Trey Songz. How do you balance that with being a drummer and a producer at the same time?
Great question. It's very difficult. A lot of people multitask, when they do the various jobs. When I'm on the road, I'm on the road. You know what I mean? I don't really go into the studio. I don't really create new music. I just focus on, the job that's in front of me, which is a big task, for an artist of Trey's caliber to trust me, to help put a show together. It's a big responsibility. So, I don't like to, spread myself too thin. I just like to focus on what I need to focus on. And if I'm touring, that's what's most important at that time. So, I'm not in the studio. I'm not really, on the producer side of things until the touring is done. Once the touring is done, I go, switch modes and get in the studio and then create music. You know what I mean?
Okay. I know you wrote a song for ESPN. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Definitely a monumental creation for me. Being a sports fanatic, actually, New York Giants, New York Knicks, New York Yankee, New York Rangers. I'm going to stop. So it was monumental, and it's funny how that story came about. I was actually speaking at a college in Connecticut for the music director for ESPN. I kind of, he reached out to me to do a favor. Similar, situation like here at Howard. Spoke to the students, inspired them. We went and ate lunch at Subway's.
Okay.
So I want to take you out to lunch. I'm not
Go to
bougie.
Subway.
I'm fine. I went to Subway, sat down, and then a conversation started. Like, yeah, we're working on this theme song. We're trying to find this and trying to find that. And I'm like, well, who's doing the beat? And it's like, yeah, we haven't really decided on that. And I was like I'm right here. And he was like, that's a great idea.
Okay.
So the conversation started. We got into the whole creative, thing about what they were looking for musically. I delivered it. They got Wale and Stolly on it from MMG. And the next thing I know, we're in the studio recording it. They're filming it. They're, documenting everything. And it's the new theme song. You know what I mean? It plays every day. The show comes on, I think, about 2 or 3 times a day. So to be able to hear, one of my creations on the TV every single day, a lot of, the fellas out there really, know the show and artists know the show. Artists appear on the show. So it's definitely a big deal. So I appreciate you asking about it.
So your name is Amadeus.
Yes.
How did that name come about?
Really funny. I'm terrible with names. So I started with like A-Dog and like Aunt Boogie, and none of that was hot. And I remember, you need a name, dude. You need a name. And I was just like, I don't know what to start. I'm bad with it. And a colleague of mine was like, well, what about like Mozart? And I was like, Like, what about like Beethoven? And I was like, nah.
No.
So he was throwing, threw a few names around, and he said he came across Amadeus, and I was just like, I don't love it, but it does start with an A. My real name starts with an A, so I was like, we'll see. Let's try that out. And eventually, like, people started calling me. I'm like, yo, what's up, Amadeus? Yo, Amadeus. And I started hearing it, and it had this little ring to it. So I kept it. And then years later, I learned that it means loves God.
Okay.
And that's definitely a big part of who I am as a man. So it just worked out, you know what I mean? And
Right.
now I love the name. The name has meaning to it in that regard. And also, you know, to use that name from one of the biggest classical composers of all time, you know, it's big shoes to fill. So, you know, I'm trying to be the hip-hop Mozart, you know what I mean?
I know you work with Chris Brown, Trey Songz, Tiger. Is there anything coming up in the near future that we should know about?
Yes, I mean, I'm always, you know, going to be on the road and touring with Trey Songz. You know, he's working on a new album, so we're really excited about that. He also has a residency in Vegas, so we do a show in Vegas once a month at Dre's in Vegas. And I'm always in the studio. I've been doing this for a long time, maybe about 15, 16 years. So what I've learned to do is, you know, kind of just say or put it in a general, you know, way that, yeah, I'm working in the studio, I'm working with your favorite artist, because a lot of times, you know, you'll be in the studio working with artists and creating songs and not always do it make the album. Like, I had produced a record for CeeLo Green. That was like the title of the album, the first song, and I started telling everybody, like, yeah, CeeLo Green. And then, you know, I think his album came out last week, and he changed the whole title, and then, you know, he used a different song. So stuff like that happens. So just know, you know, I'm in the studio working with your favorite artists, you know, from, you know, Chris Brown to Trey Songz to Keisha Cole, Fabulous, Jeezy. Just to give you, I had to give you like a little sneak. I had to look out for y'all. I had to look out for y'all. So, you know, I'm definitely working.
All right. Well, y'all heard it here first. I'm here reporting from Spotlight News Network. My name is Brianna Rawlinson. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.